to fool the ages. Or was that the right artist? Jeez. Someone to that effect. Anyway, look at the image for yourself. Go to Crop Circle Connector. Do a Google search. You'll see the images. Spectacular. The reason I wanted to bring this up because of this religious Christian iconography was because in the August-September edition of Open Minds magazine, it covered abductions. And one of the stories that they covered in here was there was a story on the 5 most important abduction cases in UFO history, and one of them was on a lady named Betty Andrews St. Luca, who was a Christian, a devout Christian, but she didn't look at the entities or the phenomena as demonic, like most fundamentalists or religious people do. She looked at the visitors as angelic beings sent to give divine messages of the Creator. I am having the hardest time talking tonight. Have you noticed? Oh, man. I think maybe 2012 is warping my brain into a completely telepathic mode where I just don't need to use words. It's so limiting, isn't it? Vernacular? Jeez, what a mouthful. Unbelievable. Anyway, Betty Andrews St. Luca, I make the segue from the crop circle formations because Betty Andrews St. Luca says that the alien entities gave her a message. The message was, and this was back in the 70s, but was it the 70s? Yeah, 1977, I guess. She said that the message was that Jesus Christ will return soon. Is there a connection there? You be the judge. Does 2012 have anything to do with this? You be the judge. I don't know. I'm leaving it open for you. These are the questions that we ponder here on the Unified Field. We don't have any more time here on the Exopolitical Pulse to go over some more stories, but there's some great, fantastic stuff in here in the latest edition of Open Minds. Alejandro Rojas, he's just like the source for me. You know, he's got great journalistic skill. He covers the stories, right away. I mean, you're not going to get it right away like Jesse Randolph or Sandy Fleming there coming at you like lightning speed, all the greatest stuff. You got to wait for it because it comes in print, but it is the goods. And there's another guy that's almost as famous as Stan Romanek right now in Italy, who's going to be on a future episode of the Unified Field, Stan Romanek, 2 weeks from now. His name is Antonio Urzi, and he's got some phenomenal footage of discs in the sky, and they printed a few of them in Open Minds, and they look pretty compelling. You look at these pictures and tell me that the bottom of these craft don't look like some kind of black hole, the absence of light that you hear about in so many accounts from witnesses. I don't know, folks. Be the judge for yourself. Something's going on. And Antonio Urzi says that he's also been contacted, and they've given him messages too. We got to change our ways. It's the same story right from the beginning. The old movies, like 1951's The Day the Earth Stood Still has relevance, contemporary relevance. By the way, I played that in my backyard, if you hadn't heard already, a few weeks back for a fundraiser for CKDU 88.1 FM, because they've been a part of my life, my whole life, listening to them growing up. The only alternative source for media, music, content, nothing you're going to find on the massive conglomerate vomit stations that you listen to every single day with massive filters and jaded tunnel-like vision, okay? Anyway, it was great. We had a big screen in my backyard, tiki torches, beer, popcorn, chai. It was phenomenal. We raised over $100 for CKDU, and the funding drive went well, too. We got another $60 there if you were listening to that. Thanks for joining me on the Exopolitical Pulse. We've only got a few minutes left, so what I'm going to do is wrap up this episode, the Shawn Leonard interview episode, with Leslie Kean's interview by MSNBC. I got it off the internet and I just downloaded it, and because the information is free, spread it. It doesn't matter what anybody says. I'll take it. If I think it's important, I'll put it on the show, and people can sue me if they want. Big deal. It's about information. Leslie Kean's fighting the good fight, and that's why we're going to show it to you right now. This lady spun circles around this guy. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about because the intro starts with spooky music, then he pauses and he says, the teleprompter told me that I should pause for that music. So I did, and it was very effective. So right off the get-go, he was taking stabs at the UFO phenomenon, and then when Leslie Kean came on there, it was like a 1-2 punch. dance like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Check this out. I'm your host, Mr. Justin Brown. Get a hold of me at unifiedfieldradio@gmail.com. Check out the old episodes at youtube.com/unifiedfieldradio. Go to the blog spot, same name, unifiedfieldradio.blogspot.com. And I'm doing Twitter now, so get on and sign up for Twitter, and I'll give you all the updates. I've got a whole new internet system coming into my place, going to get it upgraded and stay on the content on a daily basis if possible. So thanks for tuning in. If you're an abductee, if you're an experiencer, if you've got a story to tell, if you've been regressed, if you've got tapes of the paranormal, the unexplained, you've got pictures, let's talk about it. Call me. Get on the internet. Send me an email. Get a hold of me. All right, thanks for joining me. I'm going to leave you off now with Leslie Kean on this MSNBC interview. I think it's from August 25th, 2010. Here we go.
As we turn our attention from the issues that face our own nation to the issues that face our galaxy, we turn to the topic of UFOs. The prompter said pause for music, which I did, and it actually worked pretty well. Spooky science fiction, government cover-up, or both. Our next guest calling for a formal investigation of unidentified flying objects. Leslie Kean, a journalist and author of the new book, UFOs, Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record. There's the book. You just saw Leslie. Let's have at it. We discussed the book, as you probably know, yesterday on the show. Benefit all of us briefly with the basic premise of your book, the most valid observations you feel like you have for the existence of UFOs.
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, what the book does is it brings forward people from very high levels around the world, military people, generals, officials who have been head of government agencies that have investigated UFOs, and pilots who have encountered them. So it's kind of a grouping of these very high-level people that are bringing forth data, their own testimonies about what has happened, results of decades of research, government documents, physical evidence, all of them together. So, you know, when you read the cases, and the other important thing is that they have written their own pieces for this book. I'm not just quoting them and telling you what they say. Half the book is actually a compilation of pieces written by these individuals in their own words.
The professor who was with us yesterday was basically saying that you can rule out 95% of UFOs. It's the 5% that you can't rule out that you have to deal with.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's your premise.
Absolutely. I would agree with them 100%. And that the cases that are represented in the book are among that 5%. And what that 5% is it's sightings for which there is enough evidence that we can eliminate all options for explaining it. And cases that have been officially investigated, you know, that they're investigated enough so that we know there's no explanation for them.
So let me talk about a couple of, if we ran through some of this various skeptics of which you know there's no shortage in general. One of the issues that people have brought up as it pertains to the book is that pilots are not reliable sources, that pilots by definition are skewed towards better safe than sorry when they see something, whether it's dangerous or not, whether it's foreign or not, that their tendency, because it's rational on their part, is to basically observe whatever the aberration is and then split because they're flying an airplane and there's no reason to stick around and find out, but it doesn't mean that what they think they saw is what they saw.
Well, I mean, I would disagree with that, and I've spoken to aviation experts, one of them who has written an extensive chapter in the book about aviation safety issues in UFOs, who happens, a lot of people believe that pilots are, in fact, our best trained observers. They're trained to recognize everything in the sky because the safety of their passengers is at stake. And they know what aircraft look like, what military aircraft look like, what bizarre weather phenomenon look like. I mean, they're trained. So I would have to disagree that they're not good observers.
And what about the argument that unexplained or unidentified, and if you can confirm it's unidentified, doesn't necessarily mean that it is foreign or that it is from another galaxy?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, nobody in this book who has, or the people that have witnessed these things, are claiming that these are from another galaxy, that they're extraterrestrial. The premise of the book is that there is a phenomenon there, but we do not know what it is.
And what is the phenomenon that you assert is there?
Well, it appears to be some kind of technological craft, objects that are flying around that demonstrate all kinds of capabilities that we don't have here, such as being able to hover and then zoom off at the blink of an eye. I mean, they're demonstrating physics that we cannot explain according to our own technological capabilities. And this is seen over and over again. These are what these people are documenting. And they do show up on radar. They leave marks on the ground. I mean, there's enough physical evidence of their presence that without a doubt there is something there. That's the point. What it is the question. It has not been explained yet.
Well, what is it?
Well, what we want to have happen now is for a proper scientific investigation to be done, to find out. I mean, everybody wants to know.
You're pretty...
A lot of people want to know.
Not everybody. I mean, some people might not want to know.
What I meant was a lot of people. A lot of people.
Fair enough. Because there may be some people, they may not care.
Well, that's
they might
true.
just want to get a hot dog.
A lot of people don't care. A lot of people do care, especially the ones that have seen them and want answers. I mean, with some of these people who see them, it changes your life.
How does it change your life?
Because you are seeing something so phenomenal that is not supposed to exist, that everybody around you says can't possibly be. You get ridiculed, people don't believe you, but you have seen it with your own eyes. And the governor of Arizona was one of these people, the former governor of Arizona, who has written for my book. He saw this thing in 1997 that hundreds, probably thousands of people saw in his own state, and he didn't even admit it until 10 years later. But it changed his life.
You're rough on the skeptics in your book. You say non-believers are dishonest, irrational, fear and ignorance. Can't skeptics ultimately, in the scientific process, don't you want to be skeptical in the scientific process? Isn't the root, the soul, the process, skepticism? Actually, the introduction to my book, I say we want skepticism. You have to define what skepticism really means. And what I think what you're talking about there is actually the people that we call debunkers, who are people that are just on a mission to prove, they'll say anything to get across the point that UFOs don't exist, because they can't exist. It's they can't exist, so they don't exist. And these are the people that have not studied the data, don't read about it, can't talk about specific cases, and will just give you irrational explanations like the planet Venus for something, when planet Venus isn't even in the sky that night. That's happened. So there's a difference between a skeptic and a debunker. Skeptics, we welcome. We're all skeptics. We don't know what these things are. So skeptics, yes, debunkers, no. To be simple about it, yeah. But I mean, we separate in the book what the difference is between those two. Do you think if aliens exist, they would bring capital that could flow into America to create jobs? I think that if we discovered that we were being visited by extraterrestrials, which is a possibility given the data, it would change a lot of things, and it would have a lot of repercussions. You think we'd have jobs? Can't talk about jobs. It's a pleasure. But something bigger than that. Bigger than jobs. More important. Here, a pleasure to meet you. The way we see ourselves. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Leslie Kean, author of UFOs, Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record, could change the way we see ourselves, and it might create a job or two. You could be an alien watcher. You could work at the alien port, unloading alien baggage, maybe.
She really yanked his chain, eh? What a tool. Anyway, that's the state of modern media, folks. Okay? For the most part. Unless you know what you're looking for the good sources. But that's what you're dealing with on the mass media. Unbelievable. Wow. Anyway, there is hope because there's lots of Leslie Keans out there fighting the good fight. Why don't you become one of those people? We need someone new. I just ran into a lady at the video store the other day. She was telling me about one of Martin Luther King's most famous speeches about Vietnam. And she said it was so moving and so amazing. And if you heard that speech, you know what she's talking about. Where is our new Martin Luther King? We need someone. Is it going to be you? Who's it going to be? Well, it's not going to be about me. I'm talking about spaceships out here. My heart's in the right place, but I'm no Martin Luther King. Where are you? Where are you out there? Are you listening? It could be you. We need more people. We need to unite. If we can't be Martin Luther King, we need to unite and stick together and fight the good fight. The enemy is obvious, but the enemy is in us too. So let's look inside, make the necessary changes and corrections we need to make to move onwards and upwards and create the earth we've always envisioned for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, and the future of the planet. I'm Mr. Justin Brown. Thanks for tuning in. Keep your mind open and keep your eyes on the sky. You may just catch that prize. This is the Unified Field. Tune in next week when we have Mr. Stan Romanek on the program. You do not want to miss that episode. Good night, everybody.
Unified Field Radio.